a wild night, to say the least, at Busch Stadium that featured a huge evening for one Cardinals hitter, while another one stole the headlines with his animated ejection. That's one way to put it. This is Locked on Cardinals.
You are Locked on Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Hafron, and I'm your host for Locked on Cardinals, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, covering your team every day. Follow me on X at JD Sports Radio, the podcast on X at LO_Cardinals. You can find us on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram at Locked on Cardinals. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving you all of the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. Thomas Gauvain from RedbirdRants.com back with us today to discuss last night's very, very entertaining matchup between the Pittsburgh Pirates and the St. Louis Cardinals, which is kind of funny because neither of them are really in this playoff picture. Technically, I guess you could say the Cardinals are, but realistically, no. These are two teams below 500. They're at the bottom of the NL Central, but somehow, some way, we still get fireworks in a number of different ways at the game on Monday night. We're going to talk about the turnaround of Nolan Gorman's season, Willson Contreras' ejection. Obviously, that's a big thing. And whether or not JJ Wetherholt should or shouldn't be on this team at some point this season. We'll give you both sides of the equation there. But let's start with last night's game, Thomas. You know, I constantly use the term roller coaster when describing what the St. Louis Cardinals have been this year. A lot of games are just up and down and up and down. And last night's was no different. The Cardinals fell behind early. We're down 4-1 at one point. Michael McGreevy got the start again, and he gives up 2 home runs on almost the exact same pitch. One was a fastball, one was a cutter to Brian Reynolds and Spencer Horowitz. But if you go look, they're like legitimately right in the same spot, like, fractions away from being the exact same spot in the strike zone. And both of them got smashed over the wall. So things weren't looking good at this point. Former Cardinal Johan Oviedo, he was dealing at the time, allowing just 1 run on 3 hits with 5 Ks in 5 innings. But then in the 5th inning, the Pirates go to lefty Andrew Heaney. And I don't know if you remember, Thomas, last time we saw Heaney on the mound for the Pirates, kind of tore the Cardinals up a little bit. Remember, he had like that no-hitter going for quite a while. Just dominated them back on June 30th with 6 2/3 shutout innings. He allowed just 3 hits. He whiffed 7 in that game. So it kind of made sense for the Pirates to turn to him in that situation. Oviedo coming back from the arm issues. So they're keeping an eye on him with the pitch count. And the Cardinals were ready this time. They had this amazing inning where they just go off. They score 5, all with 2 outs in this 5th inning. It included 5 straight 2-out hits, which was a lot of fun to see. Watching them first off beat up on a lefty, which hasn't been the easiest thing for them to do this year. But against a soft tosser too, who we've seen them have struggles with guys like that over the years. Nathan Church got it started with a single to right. Then with 2 outs, it's Mason Wynn with the infield single to bring in Church. Then it was Burley, who had a monster game last night with the ground rule double to get a run in. A 2-run hit by Willson Contreras ties it up. And then it's Nolan Gorman with the oppo double to the gap in left center. That ends up scoring Willie all the way from first base. He was chugging around. And finally, so JC brings Gorman in on an RBI single. And just like that, you got a 6-4 Cardinal lead. And I go back to the Nolan Gorman at bat. Like, we've seen some of these other guys come through in big situations, but Nolan Gorman's turnaround has been something Cardinal fans have been waiting for, to see him just become a better hitter at the plate overall. What have you noticed? Because we were texting last night. What have you noticed about Nolan Gorman just over the last few weeks that has you feeling better about things with him and his career with the St. Louis Cardinals moving forward?
He couldn't have turned it on at a better time, honestly, as we get down to the end of the year. Since June 1st, he's slashing 249, 355, 479. His ISO, which is a stat that really just centers on power, is at 231. That's just a tick below his 241 from a couple years ago when he had a really good season offensively. 11 home runs in that time span as well. He just seems to be tapping into something that he hadn't been all year. The most interesting fact of him in that time span is his 14% walk rate. It's the highest in the Cardinals in that time period as well, which I never thought that we'd ever say about Nolan Gorman, that he's walking the most.
Right.
He's striking out the most, but like if he's going to hit 11 home runs, walk 14% of the time, I'll take a 31% K rate any day of the week at that point.
He's like what's his butt? Big Donkey from the Cincinnati Reds over the years. Why can't I think of his name? I mean, that's what he's starting to remind me of, because it's like walk, strikeout, home run. Although it feels like we're not seeing as much of the power that maybe that we're all hoping for from Nolan Gorman, which has been the one thing that we've all been writing for years. We're like, well, if he's gonna suck most of the time, at least he's hitting home runs, right? And he hasn't been doing it quite as much, but you're seeing much better at bats. I'm not seeing him flail away quite as much as at least eyeball test that I'm used to seeing him. I'm not saying I saw him chase one last night, and I was just like, "What are you doing, dude? It's not even close to the zone." But to see him doing things like hitting things to the opposite field, like when was the last time you saw him pop anything to the opposite field, and against a left-hander, no less, where he was able to look at the at bat and take what the pitch is. Like, he's not trying to just pull it and yank it over the wall in right field. Like, he just went that way, and he's so strong that it just shot into the gap, like didn't even have a chance. And it was more at bats like that is what we want to see. It's just it's good to finally see what I would deem some progress, right?
Yeah, runway, right? It's nice. I mean, last week he had 2 home runs against lefty pitchers between the Yankees and the other series. He seems to be making the adjustments that he's needed to make this year. It took him a little bit to get going. He had some injury hiccups in there as well. But the last month and a half, 2 months almost, they've been pretty good for him.
Yeah. And I feel like one of the reasons why, and you hate to say it this way, but, this is kind of what it was supposed to look like if Nolan Arenado had accepted that trade to Houston. This was the idea, was that, if Gorman started to see, consistent at bats and was always in the lineup, and the defense obviously has been an issue. It's just throwing the ball has really been the issue for Gorman so far. But offensively, knowing that he's going to be in the lineup almost every single day, I wonder what that's done for him mentally, because I don't know Nolan Gorman, but he just kind of strikes me as a guy that, he's soft-spoken, obviously, but he seems like a guy who needs to be in a lineup every single day to show that progress. Getting 2, maybe 3 games a week, it probably wasn't enough for him to really start to overcome some of the issues he was having. So it's been nice that with Arenado out, that he's gotten to see these at-bats that we promised him. When I say we, it wasn't us, but it was, John Mozeliak and company had promised him. And unfortunately, because certain things didn't happen, that those at-bats weren't there for him this year. But you're seeing the progress from it. Another guy that continued his offensive rise from last year, Alec Burleson, who had a 4-hit night, including that walk-off home run in the bottom of the 9th. Last year he kind of took off, and finally, because most people were thinking this guy is just kind of a bench player. And then he had a really good season last year, although he cooled off considerably in the second half. But this year he's kind of picked up right where he left off. And Alec Burleson has become arguably one of the top 3 hitters in the St. Louis Cardinals lineup. What are your feelings on what you saw from Alec Burleson, not only last night, but just overall this season? And do you think he's got has he cemented a place with the Cardinals moving forward?
I think he has. I've always been a little bit down on Burleson. He's pretty one-dimensional to me. It's his bat. That's the card. You put him in the corner outfield, it's going to be an experience. It seems like every catch he does make out there, like those 2 3-star catches that are a little bit tricky, he's always kind of reaching for it. He's a half step behind, those kinds of things. First base, I think he's a pretty strong defender, but obviously there's Willson Contreras there. With Willson Contreras' bat, you need that kind of guy in the lineup. He's not going to have the true raw power that a guy like Nolan Gorman has, but his bat-to-ball skills are better. He still has some power thrown in there as well. He seemed to do better this year against left-handed pitchers than he has in the past.
Yes.
I'm not saying that he's figured them out fully. He's got 278 average, 727 OPS. Like, you live with those numbers. It's not overly splitty. Still in OPS in the 700s against same-handed pitchers is pretty solid for a guy like him. But he seems to really cemented himself as a number 4, number 5 hitter in the lineup.
Yeah,
Just
I mean, I
getting
don't know
that.
where we're gonna play him to get him in the lineup every day. Like you said, watching him defensively is not always the prettiest thing. He gets maximum effort at all
He does
times. I can't say
every
that he's
time.
not trying, but it is it's just one of those things. Like, you got to get his bat in the lineup, hitting 291, 16 home runs, 60 RBIs, which kind of, puts him on pace for 20 and 80 RBIs at the end of the season. And for a team like the Cardinals, who offensively, don't have a lot of superstars popping off the page, you can't not have his bat in the lineup. And as you mentioned, against left-handers, he's looked so much more comfortable this year. And it's never going to be a perfect thing where he's just lacing everybody. This isn't Ted Williams we're talking about. But at the same time, it's good to see that he's progressing. Another year where he's a full-time player, and he's showing that he's getting better each and every year. So nice moment for him last night with the walk-off home run. His first one in his career, 5th walk-off win for the Cardinals this year. But we're not going to be able to ignore the fact that Willson Contreras probably stole the headlines from last night's game with his crazy ejection. Man, this one fun, a little scary at times too, but we're going to break it all down for you next and give you our thoughts on Willson Contreras' very animated ejection from last night's game. That's coming up next on Locked On Cardinals. It is officially FanDuel Futures Day. We made it. August 26th, the brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches for just 24 hours. FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling for who your MVP is going to be this year, eyeing up a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champion before week 1 even kicks off, it's coming up on September the 4th. This is your moment. Today is your day. So take a flyer on the MVP race. Last year, Josh Allen, an incredible season, but rarely do guys win back-to-back MVPs anymore. But it's almost always a quarterback. So if you were to pick one, who would you go with? You think Jalen Hurts maybe takes his game to the next level with the world champion Philadelphia Eagles? Will Joe Burrow, even though his team didn't make the playoffs last year, insane numbers that had him in the MVP chatter near the end of the season, is he finally going to pop off and the Bengals go to the playoffs again, and he's the star of the league? He's got a lot of weapons: Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Chase Brown. It's a lot of fun to go watch that offense. So this is on you. You make the decision. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Thanks again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. Leave your comments on YouTube as well as on X or TikTok anytime you want. Your feedback is always welcome and encouraged. Real quick, we do have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcast even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't like, and answer questions about the advertising that we do. So go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered, for a chance to win one of 10, $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes, and we appreciate you guys helping us out. Thomas Gauvain from RedwoodRants.com with us once again on this Tuesday. By now, you've seen the footage. A wild reaction from Willson Contreras, who was called out on strikes in the 7th inning, then got ejected for using vulgar language, Thomas, that prompted him to use more of that language, because from the lips that I was reading, he was saying he didn't say what the home plate umpire thought he said. He goes absolutely ballistic. He spikes his helmet. He throws his bat towards the umpires, but kind of, thank God, it hits Brant Brown, the hitting coach for the Cardinals, because you don't want that hitting an umpire. At least with Brant, you can probably say, hey, my bad, dude, I didn't mean to do that. He throws a container of gum out on the field. We know Willie's a pretty fiery guy, but your thoughts on what transpired last night between him and home plate umpire Derek Thomas? What were you thinking while that all went down?
If he was mad about the called strikes in that at bat, he doesn't really have much grounds to argue. The first one maybe was a little bit inside. maybe the first one. The third one was dotted, I think, at the bottom of the zone. And he swung at a ball like a foot out the zone. At that point, get mad at yourself, not the umpires. It seems to be a lot of he said here. Willson Contreras says he never said anything to umpire. Umpire said he heard this. He gets ejected, and then it blows up from there. Honestly, my biggest takeaway from this is that Willson Contreras owes Brant Brown and the Bat Boys a nice dinner somewhere, because Brant Brown took a bat to the forearm, and those Bat Boys were cleaning up the high chews on the field for a couple minutes there. So
yeah, as you mentioned, like, you know, what they're talking about is that the umpire thought he heard, and we're late enough into this video where we can say this, where he thought he heard Willson tell him to F off, is really what it came down to. Wilson's like, no, I didn't. No, I didn't. And then he was like, oh, you want me to tell you to F off? And that's when things went haywire. And you can see him saying it over and over and over. There was a video where I retweeted it, if you guys follow on X, where there were some subtitles on, and there's a spot where they think they hear Willson saying those words. But my thing is, like, if he said it, then I don't see why Willson would ever get mad. He'd been like, I did say it, whatever. I've never known Willson not to, you know, accept responsibility for something that he's done. But he was very adamant that I never said that to you. And that's what got him so upset, I think, is that, you know, nobody wants to be called a liar. Contreras said after the game, I didn't argue when he pitched. All I said was, call the pitches on both sides because you're missing for us. Then I turned around. The next thing I hear, he threw me out. There's no reason for it. Apparently, he heard something he thought I said. I did not say that. Crew chief Jordan Baker told the pool reporter that Contreras and Marmol were saying vulgar stuff to Thomas, who's the home plate umpire, not Thomas Gauvain, who we're talking to with here today from RedBirdReds.com. Baker added that Contreras made contact with the umpire. It was a wild scene. Do you think they handled it well? Obviously, you know, Wilson's side of things, obviously, it's not a great look. You got to be able to control your emotions a little bit. But do you feel like it was a soft ejection by the home plate umpire to just assume that he said something like that and toss a guy?
yeah, probably at first, as Contreras was walking away from the plate to throw him at that point. After that, yeah, obviously Contreras wouldn't have done the stuff after that if he hadn't been ejected in the first place. It felt a little bit soft. I didn't see all of the pitches throughout the game. Contreras could have a really good point of he's calling it pretty one-sided. We'll have to see the umpire auditor on Twitter today, see how that comes out. The truth is that it felt a little bit soft. And then obviously,
yeah, and it's the thing is too, is like people are like, gosh, the ump's been terrible tonight. And you can always go to the umpire scoreboards website to kind of check on accuracy. Derek Thomas is one of the best in the league too, because there was a few where you're like, ugh, he missed that one too. Maybe it was just a bad night for him. Maybe things were just a little bit off. But overall this season, Derek Thomas has been one of the top accuracy-wise umpires in the league. So it's not like he's normally a problem back there. This isn't, you know, CB Bucknor or Laz Diaz or Wendell Center, or any of these guys that are known for having just outrageous strike zones. So Contreras was the first Cardinals player to be ejected from a game this season. Marmol also ejected, although I didn't see what he did that got him thrown out. He didn't look like he was really all that upset with the umpire. He was just more worried about holding his player back. But sixth time he's been tossed out of a game in 2025. But I thought that was fine. I was like, no kidding. No Cardinal has been thrown out of a game so far this season. So we broke the seal on that. Good job. Up next, the debate continues to rage on, Thomas. Should the Cardinals be bringing up JJ Wetherholt? There's a bunch of different reasons why he should be brought up. There's also some reasons why he maybe won't be brought up. Something that you wrote about at RedBirdRants.com. We're going to dive into that coming up next on Locked On Cardinals. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. These grape, ginger, lime flavored shot. It brings the iconic taste of a golf course favorite to a non-alcoholic boost. It's perfect for not only seeking birdies on the course, but also making great memories with friends. It's a hole-in-one for your energy game, that I can promise you. So whether you're out on the course or maybe just going through life, like today, maybe you're having a slow Tuesday after staying up to watch a game last night, and you need a little extra push to power through your day. 5-Hour Energy Transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor you love without ever leaving the green. golf is all about good times with good people, no matter how good your golf game actually is. And, of course, good flavors goes right along with that. The grape ginger lime flavor of 5-Hour Energy Transfusion gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without having to leave the course or chase down that Bev cart. And now you can amp up the fun even more. Just buy, snap, and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for two to any golf tournament in the USA. Tee up that trip by visiting 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. That's 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Does exclude the Masters tournament. This will end October 31st, 2025. Thanks again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. It's every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale by finding MLB Game Night on the Locked On MLB YouTube channel or wherever you listen to your podcasts. JJ Wetherholt is one of the top prospects in baseball. That cannot be denied. He's in the top 10 in almost every ranking. Some people have him in the top 5. Having a hell of a time at Memphis. Like, he is just raking. Ever since he got brought up from AA, he's been on fire, hitting like 328, something like that. He's just outstanding numbers across the board. The Cardinals are technically still in the wild card combo, though everybody gets mad at me when I bring that up. But the odds are very slim for him to get in. You've got your star shortstop, Thomas. Mason Wynn, dealing with a knee injury. He's been dealing with it since the All-Star break. So it's been quite a while now that he's had some issues with this knee. He took a shot for it, anti-inflammatory shot for that knee. Had to miss Sunday's game because it was, barking at him a little bit. Do you think that with something like this, that maybe the Cardinals say, all right, Mason, let's shut it down, and then JJ Wetherholt perhaps uses that opening to get up to the big league level? Because you wrote a piece about this for RedbirdRants.com, and you gave thoughts on why and why not it's a good and maybe a not so good reason for JJ to get the call this year. What are your thoughts on this whole subject with JJ Wetherholt?
I think the only reason he is called up this year is if Mason Wynn does go down. One of my reasons on this article was that there's no room for him to play. You look at our infield.
Yeah.
When Brendan Donovan comes back, it's Donnie. When Arenado comes back, who he's planning on coming back at some point this year, it's Donnie, it's Nato, it's Wynn, it's the JC, it's Gorman. Like, that's 5 guys right there, 3 spots. And I know Donovan can play in the outfield, but Alec Burleson needs time in the outfield. Devon Herrera is probably going to get some time. Like, there's just bodies everywhere. There's really no room for JJ right now, unless Mason Wynn does get hurt. However, there's also several reasons to bring him up. He could bring a spark to the fans. I'm not saying he's going to bring back 10,000 fans a game, but a few hundred here or there. There's always excitement around a rookie, especially a highly touted one like him. He probably needs a little bit more time at AAA just to get adjusted to the Major League Baseball and some higher level pitching. But everything he's shown up to this point proves that he's a legitimate, true hitting prospect.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, so many other guys that you're still kind of, you're like, I still want to see this guy play. I want to see Thomas JC. Like, we got to figure out what the hell we have in him. Is he somebody that is capable of being a starter at the major league level at some point, or is he just a solid utility bench kind of guy? Gorman obviously has become a much better hitter by getting more everyday at bats. So you don't want to pull him out of the lineup if and when Donnie and Arenado come back. You don't want to just be like, all right, that was fun, right? Back to the pine, buddy. You don't want that to happen at all. So you got to get his at bat. So there's part of me too that's like, I almost wish that Nato and Donnie be like, all right, we're good. We're done for the year. Just so
Nato especially, right? Like,
yeah, just so we can see some of these guys continue to get more at bats at the major league level. It's I know what they are. I know what you are at this point in your career, Nolan Arenado. I know what you are, Brendan Donovan, Mr. All-Star. We know what you can do. We don't. Are them coming back to the lineup? Is that really going to be a push that gets the Cardinals into the playoffs? Probably not, because you still have that starting rotation where you just don't really know what's going to happen most of the time. So I'm kind of enjoying the fact of seeing these younger guys get more at bats and more meaningful playing time in these games. But like you said, the numbers crunch is just, it's too tough because JJ, you got Jose Fermin who's on this roster, but you're not going to put JJ Wetherholt in that role where he never plays. Maybe every once in a while he gets on the field. So if you're going to bring him up, you want to see him in that lineup every day. So I'm in full agreement with you that unless Mason Wynn decides to shut things down, there's really no room for JJ on this team this season, is there?
No, I don't think so. And you'll hear some 40-man arguments about like we need to keep an open 40-man for this winter for Heim Bloom. You don't need to add JJ to it right now. I don't know if that's a very strong argument. With a guy like JJ Wetherholt, if he's ready, you make space for him. He's the type of player you get on the roster and you make space other ways that you can. Without Mason Winters, I don't think there's any room on the 26-man roster, even though.
Yeah, and it's not like the old days where like you go to September and all of a sudden you call up all of Memphis comes to the yeah, where the whole team comes up. It's not like that anymore. They put the kibosh on that a few years ago. So it's disappointing in a way because everybody just wants to see JJ play and see what he can do. But again, he's been at AAA what a little over a month. I don't think he's reached 30. Yeah, I don't even he's reached 30 games for the Memphis Redbirds. I don't know. It's still very early. I would rather just do it next year, to be honest with you. There's not much that you're going to be able to save with this season. Like you said, I mean, is JJ being in the lineup going to bring 10,000 fans back to the stadium so they don't have the record low crowds like they did last night? No, I think the fans have made their decision and they're not coming either way. So next year, you get the whole offseason for Heim Bloom to kind of massage this roster and you give him a chance to see what some of these other guys can do. And then he swindles and makes some deals and does what he needs to do. And then, you come into spring ball next year and give JJ every opportunity to win a spot, to win a starting role, and maybe by then things have shifted and certain people have been traded or whatever to open up that spot for him, because when he's here, you're going to want to keep him here. So it just makes a little more sense to do it this offseason, which again, it's a bummer, but these are, the times we live in when it comes to roster construction and where the Cardinals are at this particular time at the end of August. So anything new you're working on, Thomas? We're gonna wrap things up here. What you got?
I had one go out today about Heim Bloom. Derek Gould talked to Eric Neander, Tampa Bay Rays executive. Heim Bloom is going to be far more transparent than John Mozeliak was, which is refreshing.
Good.
And the four left-handed hitting bats that we have, Donnie, Gorman, Newpar, and Burleson, I'm writing about who is most likely to get traded this winter of that bunch.
Ooh, yeah, because there's an argument for all of them to get shipped and all of them to stay. There's a lot of reasons to like and dislike things that each one of them do. So makes a lot of sense. So make sure you guys check that out at redbirdrants.com. Be sure to follow Thomas at Thomas Gauvain on X as well. And be on the lookout for all of his work moving forward. We want to thank you guys for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, please give us a follow on X at @LO_Cardinals, and at JD Sports Radio, TikTok, and Instagram, and Locked On Cardinals. Like, subscribe on YouTube. You guys are the best fans of baseball for a reason. We'll see you next time on Locked On Cardinals. Thomas, thank you as always for your time, big guy.
Absolutely. Thank you, JD.
Don't throw any gum at the kids today, okay?
No, of course not. I never do. No.